All right, Jacob, explain to me what's going on. I thought we moved to ward as the like annoying target,
Yeah,
can't target
I
thing.
don't know
We're
what's
just
up
getting
with just a
hexproof.
random flying hexproof creature that at least like you kind of need other creatures to be good, but not that much.
Yeah, at least it doesn't pump itself, I guess, when you do its
Not
thing.
permanently,
But
but it
I,
does have prowess. I mean, it can still hit very hard.
yeah, I mean, I like that in a go wide deck that you're gonna have some like daydreams or removal spells or
You Springleaf
practice
Drum
offense,
too.
springleaf
Yep.
drum, even sure. Okay, so we're doing our Marvel top 10 here in a second. But Jacob, what did you think while you're making your list? What do you think of the set?
It's okay. It seems kind of low power compared to other sets. Don't mind too much that this set's Marvel. I like it more than like Spider-Man because, all the cards have different names. I think there actually is only one Spider-Man in the main set, so below my expectations. And otherwise, I think, it has some cool cards and I'm excited to play it a lot in limited. I have a lot of plans to play it in limited. I'm playing the team sealed event in Vegas at the end of this month, and then the draft format at the Pro Tour is this format. And I'm going to Amsterdam with my fiance Olivia and our son, and we just kind of finalized pet sitting plans. I think we're going to stay an extra week and take a train to Brussels and back. And there's a team limited tournament in Brussels as well the weekend after the Pro Tour, so I'll be looking for a team for that.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
And I'm already
Brussels,
practicing
huh?
for it. And also, the travel and extend your travel a week is like an interesting thing because obviously it does cost a lot of money, but it doesn't cost more to the flight. So it's one of the cheapest opportunities you have to like have a cool travel plan.
Sure. Yeah, and it's like when you're already taking time off,
Yeah.
taking off a little more is a little less hard than doing two different ones. Well, that's cool. It's funny you told me about the team event and well, you know what? I'm gonna save that for later.
Okay.
That'd be a good something for later. Real quick before we get into it, I just wanted to ask a little bit like we've got a standard qualifier thing weekend on Arena
Yeah.
this weekend. Are you gonna play in that?
Yeah, I'll probably try to qualify on Friday. I didn't over the weekend play the best of one event. Standard is kind of an interesting spot right now. The four color control deck is very popular. And now there's this influx of practiced offense decks, I would say. The green white deck, the Mardu deck, and the Momo deck are all using it.
Yeah, I have noticed that card seeing a lot of play. And when I listen to Gab Nassif's podcast, they talk about trying it in modern and stuff. So
Yeah, I've tried it in
definitely a
modern a
pretty good
little
card.
already. Not that impressive, but there's some cool things to do with it. I mean, it can end the game quickly, which is a useful tool in modern.
If nothing else, it kind of demonstrates the power of the card that it's even an option in modern, I would
Yeah.
say, at least. Do you know what you'll play?
No, I mean, I think maybe Spellmentals is kind of good again. That
Oh,
seems
interesting.
seems good against practice offense decks that just play lots of creatures to the board. It seems like the exact
Yeah.
deck you'd want to be Sunder flocking. Basically any of those decks. I don't know if you can do something for the four color control matchup. I mean, I had mentioned when I was really focused on Spellmentals for Pro Tour Lore and Eclipsed how the Jeskai control matchup was bad, but they were main deck Rest in Peace deck, so that was part of it. They also like all the red removal that these control decks are playing is not, the Get Losts and No More Lies that the other decks played. And I thought one of the more realistic things you could do to beat those decks is maybe sideboard something like Price of Freedom. And that was when they had very few basics, but these control decks only have one basic. So maybe you could just sideboard a bunch of Price Freedoms and One-She Tonks.
Yeah, maybe. I do that out of my lessons
Yeah,
deck.
exactly.
It's like slightly better there, but it'd still be
Yeah,
okay.
one's a lesson in the graveyard, but putting a sorcery in your graveyard is also
Yeah.
pretty on theme for Spellmentals. So, like,
Yeah. When I was looking at the Spellmental RC decks, it seemed like their cyber plans were like horses mainly, which sound
yeah, I
okay,
mean,
but
there's lots of things though. Like I said, the current four color control deck does not seem like as bad of a matchup as the old Jeskai control deck was generally.
okay. Counter spells are maybe a little better against them.
Yeah, they're still gonna have the Mist Rises, but it's mostly just that they don't have like the Get Losts. Like your creatures when they come down might actually be kind of annoying for them.
Yeah. Yeah, especially for game one. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably just gonna play Lessons because it's the deck I'm familiar with, and I don't plan on practicing a ton of Standard. I'm probably just gonna play it.
That do you think that's just it's good enough against the like decks beating up on like the practice offense decks, I guess? Like if you think that's a good matchup, that I'm pretty interested.
I'm not sure. I think it can be okay. Like so Momo, like blue white Momo, I think is maybe unfavored, is my feeling. You can beat it. I've got some sideboard like Slag Storms and Essence Scatter, and I've actually been playing Meringue River Regent as in the sideboard
Okay. I guess
in some numbers.
yeah.
So I have tools for it. And
The annoying
I
thing
would
is that like, all
say
these decks have seam rips. That's probably what's annoying for you.
Seam Rip is annoying for
Lessons.
what reason? Yeah. Oh, because they have it in their main.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it is kind
Like
of
they just
annoying.
play cards that interact well with both. I mean, I think seam rip's like the best interactive spell against lessons. Like it's just
Yeah.
like catches the
Gran
right
Gran
things.
and
Yeah.
that is true. I actually usually board out the talents in that matchup.
Sure, that makes sense.
The red talents for like blue creatures and removal and play kind of a control game, but I think it's okay. I do think it's really good against like control
Definitely. Yeah.
and kind of all the other stuff like that. Basically the decks that are the closest matchups are the ones that are really aggressive. Like Is It Prowess is kind of close.
That makes sense.
Momo's kind of close, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Landfall even, you know. So it's not a perfect deck, but it's kind of like got game against everything and some really good matchups. So I'm just gonna play that.
Cool.
I'll send you my list if you want it, or we can talk about it later. So yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into our top 10 here. I will say that I was kind of not really looking forward to this set. In some sense, it's still not my favorite. Like I'm not a huge Marvel fan or anything, and I really like Strixhaven and all our in-universe sets. But going through the top 10 today, I found some cards to be pretty excited about. So
Cool.
that's nice.
Yeah.
And I like the art in this set. There's some really good art direction. I've got an honorable mention. Do you?
I was just gonna talk about the lands. I don't know. They seem
Well, yeah, let's do that.
obvious, but they seem good.
Yeah. Tell me about them.
Yeah, so these are only ally color ones, so presumably we'll get some enemy color ones in a different set later because their names did not seem Marvel related at all, which is cool to fit, something like that into a Marvel set, like a reprintable land cycle. We have like Dark Fortress, which taps for colorless, or tap, add black or red, activate only if this land entered this turn, or if you control a basic land. So there's 5 of these. They tap for the ally colors, or if they entered that turn, or if you control a basic land. That means they're probably restricted to 2-color decks, but they seem quite good in 2-color decks with a decent amount of basics. And there's also some incentives to play basics in standard anyways because of the lands from Avatar.
Yeah. So in my mind, I naturally was trying to compare these to the Verges. One of the things that's going to happen is the ally color Verges are going to rotate next year. So these will almost certainly see more play then. But even now, they might still see play. They're better if your deck's full of basic lands. If your deck's more like I think, multiple colors, even 3 colors, these don't turn on with the Surveils or Shocklands or anything. So
yeah,
the Verges are probably better there.
And also a 2-color deck might have more 1-drops. I mean, these are kind of nice with 1-drops. You can.
They are, yeah. Especially if the Verge and your colors like doesn't cast the 1-drops you want.
Exactly.
These could be a lot better. So I would expect these to see small amounts of play now, and then maybe quite potentially a lot more play once the allied color Verges rotate.
That's about how I feel too.
Yeah, but they're not like super powerful, but they're good. My honorable mention was Dark Deed.
Sure, the removal spell.
So, yeah, 1 and a black instant. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. We've had this card before, but it costs black.
Yep.
And so this is obviously just way easier to cast than that, a lot better than that. I didn't want to put it on the top 10 because this is almost certainly going to see play, but it's also just going to be like probably a minor upgrade.
Well, it's also like, is it better than Shoot the Sheriff right now?
It might be. I like that it can kill like indestructible stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely some moments for it, and Shoot the Sheriff will also rotate. I mean, I think we'll probably have that kind of approach. I have cards in my top 10 that like, it's weird. I mean, I guess there's some that, need cards that will rotate to be good, but also some that might be better post-rotation in my mind.
Yeah. With my top 10, I kind of took more of a chance. I picked more of the cards that, like, if they're going to be good, they're probably going to be quite good.
Cool. That's how I feel about
thing.
top of my list at least.
Yeah. So we'll see. Um, that one's just kind of boring, but yeah, definitely a good card. Okay, so number 10. Why don't you give us your number 10, Jacob?
My number 10 is one that maybe I could have done as an honorable mention. I just really wanted to talk about it and thought it was kind of cool. It's Construct a Cosmic Cube.
Okay. So real quick, this one is on my top 10.
Okay.
And if for this rules for this list, we didn't do reprints, and then also if both of us have one on the same list, we'll say it right away, so we don't have to talk about it twice. So yeah, I put this on number 8.
Okay.
So go ahead and talk about it.
So this is an enchantment with a subtype called Plan. And I think in this set, there's just like one card that can tutor a plan that I don't think you'd ever play. Like it's like a 6-drop, and you can pay a 1 in a black and discard it to search your library for a plan and put it into your hand. So right now, being a plan, I don't know if it matters, but they're kind of like quests. I think a lot of enchantments are very similar to plans where they just like do a thing over and over again. I mean, honestly, like Earthbender Ascension is like kind of a plan, as you get into it. But anyways, this is 2 in a black for an enchantment plan. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/1 black villain creature token with menace and put a plan counter on this enchantment. And when the 7th plan counter is put on this enchantment, sacrifice it. When you do, you control target opponent during their next turn. So to be clear, all the plans in this set, like, trigger when you do something, they get a plan counter, and when they get some number of plan counters, you sack them and do something else. None of the other ones I've read seem close to playable. This one seems pretty good to me. It, to draw your second card in a turn is something not that hard to ask you, and the reward you get is like some board presence and some evasive ones. So I really like that. And then I think the reward you get for doing it 7 times is like close to win the game.
Yeah, I don't know many decks that couldn't just destroy themselves in standard if you got to control
and
their turn.
That's like it's super easy to win the game if you have a bunch of 2/1 menaces. But let's pretend you have to trade them off or they died for the sake of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
Like also, like I think a lot of that Mindslaver text people get used to for a while now is based on Emrakul in Modern or at other formats. But that gives them an extra turn after, which I think we're kind of used to.
Yeah,
this is like, you can just tap all their lands. At the very least, if you could make bad attacks still, but it's pretty close to like at the worst, just take an extra turn after this one in my mind.
Yeah, this is just straight up Mindslaver. They don't get another turn. It is 7, so like your opponent has a long time. They could see the evil plan coming. They have a long time to disrupt it. But
you can get 2 counters a turn on this though if you have the right kind of deck. Like opt on your turn. Attachments on your opponent's turn.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a build-around type of card, but there's lots of cheap cards that can trip and stuff, and, getting a bunch of 2/1s.
And those are, like, not bad cards. Is kind of, I feel like you don't have to do, like, a bad thing to make this card work.
Yeah, it is the kind of thing where it's kind of going to demand you build a deck around it, but...
Yeah, also maybe, I don't know, like, maybe Pioneer, where you have Consider or maybe something better to pair with this. You'll have more cards that let you do the draw 2 a turn thing. It's also, like... It's kind of like a sideboard juke card in my mind for certain decks that maybe play all these cantrips too. Like it doesn't use your graveyard. It's not a creature. It's randomly like a black enchantment, which might be like a category of card your opponent can't deal with.
Yeah, maybe. It's a little awkward that maybe the best card drawing spells in Standard, or 2 of them at least, are Stock Up and Consult.
Yep.
Which doesn't work with this, but...
Yeah, I mean,
there's other things.
Yeah, you could use Winter Night Stories, and the 2/1 could help you harmonize it. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like Quick Study too. I guess you probably don't have to go that deep, but I like me a Quick Study. Okay, so my number 10 is...
Cool, that's I think my number 8 also, so we traded.
Nice, okay. This one's funny because I don't exactly know what we're supposed to do with it. I felt like I had to put it on my list in case it was broken. So Hex Magic, 2 in a red, sorcery. It's arcane. Does that matter?
It does.
Okay. Well, I don't know why that matters. I guess in Modern Storm, We'll see. So exile all cards from your hand, then draw that many cards. Until the end of your next turn, you may play cards exiled this way. So this reads like it'd be good in a Storm deck, and this is coming from a guy who basically doesn't know much about Storm, especially the way they're configured. It just seems like it would be really good. So maybe you could tell me more about that. But other than that, as for implications, I could even see this seeing play in like Standard potentially. Like a big mana red deck, when you cast this, you are getting like 1 less card than you think, maybe because you're casting the Hex Magic. So if you have 5 cards in hand, cast the Hex Magic, you're only drawing 4. But if you build your deck so that your cards are easily castable, or they're all cheap, this can potentially just be like a 3 mana draw 4 or even more potentially.
Yeah, it's a lot of cards. And yeah, I am putting this on my list pretty much exclusively because of the modern Ruby Storm deck.
Okay.
I am just a believer that it'll be good. That deck also has Desperate Ritual, kind of cool. You can splice Desperate Ritual onto Hex Magic, which then means like it'll add the text add 3 red. So then you'll resolve this, add 3 red, and exile your hand, which will still include the Desperate Ritual, which then obviously you could cast because you'll have 3 red floating.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
But also, yeah, I
Just
mean,
go off.
it's just a lot of cards. It's like it gives you till next turn to cast them, which is awesome. Obviously, it's really important to why it's good. And yeah, you need to have a hand full of castable cards. That's the type of deck you need to be in. So a Storm combo deck is like exactly where it is. And I mean, I'll just give you like a hypothetical where like as Storm, you could be on the play, like play a land, drop 7, go lands 2-drop, and your opponent answers that 2-drop, Ruby Medallion or Ral. And then next turn, like draw a card, go land Hex Magic, and just like you exile 4 cards and like draw 4, and it's just like really likely that all of those cards you can play next turn. And like a 3-mana draw 4 is just, it's a lot. And you could also play a slower game where this is draw 5 or 6, like.
That all sounds great. It does have, has a pretty real fail case where if you just draw it when you in a grindy game where you don't have many cards in hand or after you've already emptied your hand.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty bad, but
definitely also good in like a lower curve deck because it incentivizes you to stop playing your lands after a certain turn, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point too. So definitely some potential. I wasn't super sure about the combo decks. I know like Historic, the mono red, there's a combo deck there too now. So I figured it would see play in those decks. Okay, so on to your number 9, huh?
Yeah, my number 9 is the Wondrous Wasp. So this is 1 in a blue, 2/1, legendary creature, human hero, flash flying. When the Wondrous Wasp enters, tap up to 1 target creature. It loses all abilities for as long as the Wondrous Wasp remains on the battlefield. I think the text and mana and everything this card is doing is like really, really good. It's just like it's legendary, and it's a card that needs to stay in play to be good and just does some chip damage. But I don't know. I just like imagine casting this on Llanowar or Saz's Chocobo versus the mono green deck that can't interact with it much, and it just basically like kills their guy and does 2 damage the whole game, even like Ice Till or whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely really flexible, and I can see it being a pretty nice fit in any sort of deck like blue black mid range that we've seen before. Or anything
the Momo deck really. Play it. It can discount, but like it's hard to put. How many copies can you realistically put in the deck? Like 2, maybe.
Yeah. I was like, it's funny because I was comparing it to Tidebinder Mage and Flood Pit Drowner, and it's like noticeably, in my mind, it's like the ability on it is a combination of the two, but the ability's worse than both of those abilities. So,
well, it depends on what you're stopping because it's better against Saz's Chocobo on.
This is all
for Flood Pit's Drowner, at least. I mean, like,
sure,
like you just can on the play like kill their Chocobo, like basically.
Yeah, make it so it's just a 1/1.
0/1 even.
Or 0/1 as long as it doesn't play.
Llanowar Elves, like it's just a 1/1 or whatever, Ice Till, stuff like that. Like you don't have to shuffle it back in like you would Flood Pits, and it's cheaper than Tidebinder. And
that's a good
also
point.
like if you Tidebinder and Ice Till, they have a 2/4 and you have a 3/2, so that's just not even very good.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking of like a lot of the stuff where Tidebinder, anything that's like an ETB or Planeswalker ability.
There's some really good
Tidebinder
different moments for Tidebinder. I just feel like this card is like good against normal kind of creatures that people play.
Okay. Yeah.
Moonshadow stays a 1/1 forever, stuff like that.
I bet it's definitely the kind of card where you could just put it in your deck and you'll find a lot of use cases for it that you don't realize because it's so flexible and cheap and stuff. So yeah, you're probably right. It's probably a pretty good card.
I don't know. If it wasn't legendary, I would think a lot of decks would play 4 of this card. I guess that's what I would say. It'd be a lot higher.
Really?
On the list. Yeah, I just think like Flood Pit Drowner doesn't have flying. I don't know. Like this is just really good with Kaido and stuff. Like
Flood Pit like locks down for a turn.
Yeah, it's better. I guess like Flood Pits is specifically better with Kaido because it like prevents the damage from happening. And maybe it just depends on what creatures you're playing against. Because I guess like versus Eddie Merc Crab, this is not as good. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Maybe I was comparing it too much to Tidebinder, and it's actually more like a Floodbase
Yeah,
Drowner type of card.
exactly.
That's fair. All right. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's probably better than my next card that I'm going to say, but hey. For my number 9, I've got Black Widow,
Okay.
Super Spy.
Yeah.
This is 1 in a black, 2/1 menace. Whenever Black Widow deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an online card. You may put a +1 counter on Black Widow. If you don't, you may cast the exiled non-land card until end of turn, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. So this also has a problem of being like, a legendary creature, obviously, which, no surprise, in a Marvel set, a lot of these creatures are legendary, and having legendary 2-drops is kind of rough, because usually, when you play 2-drops, you want to play a bunch of them because they're like your plan, but I think maybe you could play this in like a black aggro deck. I really do like that it has menace and can just grow even if you're not hitting good things. And then I also thought it would like potentially be a decent sideboard card in a black deck that doesn't play a lot of cheap creatures that your opponent would leave removal in against you, because you could just kind of throw it down early unexpectedly.
Where it sounds best to me, is like pressuring your opponent's Burst Lightning and Reckoning Hex to be a card they might want in their deck or might not want.
Right. But like if it's in your sideboard and Requiting Hex or Burst Lightning's not good against you, I think that could be a decent spot for it, because unlike something like Dark Confidant, you don't have to risk it killing you. So it's kind of like that. It plays kind of like that. Or you could just grow it.
It's really hard. Yeah, I mean, like the Mirror Excruciator deck or whatever, I could see having some of these in the sideboard.
Yeah. So that's the role I see for it. Obviously, a black aggro deck hasn't been good in Standard for a while, but it could maybe see a play a little bit there too. So I don't know.
Yeah, it seemed a little too vulnerable to me, but I like the kind of like, it's a really threatening card. It does like demand getting answered from a lot of decks, I'd say.
Yeah, it's only 2 mana, and I do think maybe if you were, because I was trying to think if you would play this in a Jund style of deck. Those decks like Black Green, for instance, doesn't have very good 2-drops in my opinion right now. And I mean, it does have menace if you're like picking off their creatures and attacking with it. It wouldn't be the worst.
Yeah, that's true.
Those are my thoughts on Miss Black Widow. What do you got for, let's see, your number 8 is Hex Magic.
Yep, and your number
and my number 8 is
the Construct a Cosmic Cube. So we're on the number 7.
Yeah. All right, what's your number 7?
My number 7 is Truck Toss.
Nice.
It was after like a second review of the set and really reading the cards, I kind of added this one. So
okay,
this is 2 red instant. This spell costs 2 less to cast if you control a vehicle. Truck Toss deals 4 damage to any target. So I like that it could go to any target. 4 is a lot of damage, and I think if this card sees play, it's absolutely because the deck has, at least like 4 of the same vehicle in it or something. But there's been some vehicles I've thought about before. I feel like the Rocketeer Boost Buggy from Aether Drift is like one that came to mind, which is like the one that when it attacks makes a treasure and has exhaust to be crewed forever.
Oh, I've almost put that card in deck.
And like Road Rage is also in Aether Drift, and Aether Drift isn't rotating in 2027. So yeah, I don't know. I could see a red-based deck with some vehicles playing Road Rage in this card as it's like removal. And this, 4 is a lot for 2 mana, and 4 face is also awesome.
You know what's funny is you sent me your list, and I was reading it, and I was like, Truck Toss? Like, is that a green card? Looked at all the green cards. No, not a green card. Looked at a red card, and I was like, oh, this must steal damage to players. And I looked, I was like, yep, any target.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't think for 4 mana, it, obviously if you put this in your deck, you'll have to get used to casting for 4 mana. But when you're like top decking burn spells, great. But I mean, yeah, obviously I think it's based around playing vehicles, but it seems like a pretty good payoff to playing vehicles. And I've had some vehicles come to mind previously that I thought were close to good enough.
We've got some good vehicles in Pioneer.
Yeah, that too.
Smuggler's Copter and Reckoner Bankbuster are the ones I can think of.
Chariot, yeah.
There you go. Okay, maybe. I don't know if you're into that kind of thing, burning your opponent's face for 4.
Well, it's not Boros only. That's what's nice, right? You can play a interactive deck. And Road Rage is, for those that don't know from Aether Drift, is like one of the shock variants that only hits creatures, but it has 2 plus the number of vehicles you control. So like it can also scale into more, and it's kind of more Torch the Tower like.
Yeah, I guess just for red you can already have like Seer, so you really want to be
going face. That's fair.
Really have to be liking it.
But a vehicle deck is assumedly aggressive because vehicles want you to tap your creatures and attack. So
sure. Okay, here's another one of the card. My card is number 7. My number 7 is Armor Wars. This is Saga 2 blue-red First chapter is you may draw a card for each artifact you control. If you do, each opponent draws a card. Chapter 2, artifact spells you cast this turn cost 1 less to cast. And Chapter 3, this saga deals X damage to target opponent, where X is the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. So, I don't play Modern, but I know that in theory, you could get a ton of artifacts into play before you play this, and can't you just draw like 6 cards off of this pretty easily?
Yeah, it's just a lot of mana for that deck.
Sure. Yeah.
And the discount is actually not good in that deck because their artifacts all cost 0, basically.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of like artifact synergies going on in standard that aren't quite good enough yet, and we're getting some artifact payoff stuff in this set. And this card, I mean,
If your deck was
I kind of wanted to.
all artifacts, it does seem like a good card to me, but in like standard power level context, or maybe modern, or maybe
Yeah. I really like the second ability paired with it.
I love
It
the
fits
order
really
of the abilities.
nicely.
It's like exactly the order you want to, do all these things in. Like draw a bunch of cards, then unload my hands, then burn you.
Yeah, totally. So, all right. I thought maybe this would be good in modern.
They're just like already not
Artifact.
playing Thought Monitor, like
I see. This draws a lot. This could draw a lot.
yeah,
I mean, I guess sideboard, they're like killing your artifacts too.
yeah, that's part of the issue.
Makes it harder. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I like it. If artifacts are good in standard, I think this has a good shot of helping them a lot. So we'll see. What do you got for number 6, Jacob?
I have King T'Challa. Sorry, I'm horrible at pronouncing the Wakandan name.
Yep.
Is 1 white blue for a 3/2 legendary creature, human noble hero with flash. Says whenever a player draws their second card each turn, you draw a card. And then you can pay 4 white and a blue to transform it, activate only as a sorcery. And this is one of those MDFCs where also you could just pay 4 white and a blue to cast the backside immediately. So it has a backside, Black Panther, Hope of Enduring, like I said, 4 white blue. It's a 3/3 flash double strike. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to Black Panther, so completely immune to burn or combat damage. And whenever Black Panther deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Kind of like draw 2 cards. Because it's got double strike, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the front half is kind of this weird hate bear, but it has this interesting thing to it that says whenever a player draws their second card each turn, so you can use it with your own things and itself. So like if your opponent
didn't even notice that.
like draws a second, if your opponent tried to like draw 2 cards on your end step and you flash this in, you would draw 2 cards because you would trigger it for them, and then that would be the second card you drew on your turn, and then you would draw another card.
All right, that's a good point.
So I don't know if it really has a home or anything, but I thought that it has a lot of good moving parts to it. I thought, also there's just some red decks that can't kill the 6 mana half like at all, and it's pretty threatening.
Yeah,
you could stay on blocks even, and be 6 power like unkillable blocker.
Sure. A couple things I didn't like about it, or the reason I I read it, but I didn't put it on my list. 3/2 felt like kind of a weak stat line against like Burst Lightning, and yeah, I guess that's and like a lot of the blue decks, their main card draw is like Consult and Stock Up.
Yeah, it might not really have the actual applications to make it. It just seemed like a lot of the right words, and I really liked that.
It does do a lot of stuff.
The hate bear ability of it plays really well with itself if your deck has like Opt or something to pair with it.
Yeah, and I guess in theory, if your opponent's like a Burst Lightning deck, they're not as likely to be a deck where the first half is even good, so you could just wait to use the second half.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of makes sense.
I mean, obviously right now, that's, not going to work against Crab or bounce spells or whatever, but...
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. The thing is like, I don't expect a lot of these cards are guaranteed to see play in Standard because the card pulled so deep, so why not? All right, number 6, I've got Shang-Chi.
Okay. That's my number 1, I'll say right now.
Okay, wow. That's good because I, again, don't really have a lot to say. It's kind of like Hex Magic where I could just I can tell it's a good card, especially this one. I could tell it could be super powerful. I don't really know what I would do with it, but this is the kind of card that would, if I had more time or probably in the near future, I will, when the set comes out on Arena, I'll definitely be like looking through all the keywords and stuff that you could do with it. Obviously it reminds me of the Black-Green Planeswalker from the Roots deck, but the fact that like, it's a cheap creature itself, and you can play it and tap it and use it right away.
Can you read it?
Yeah, totally.
No
Sorry.
worries.
Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. One in a green, 2/2, legendary creature, human warrior hero. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. And as tap, add 2 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to activate abilities of creature sources. So, yeah, that's what I was referring to, and you can like tap it right away to use it.
Yeah, it's crazy that it affects itself.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's funny because when you said, "Can you read it?" I was like, "Oh no, did I misread that it
No.
can't tap right away?" It's like, "Oh no, I just never read the card." And people are
Yeah.
listening. They're like, "What are you talking about, Alex? Who's Shang Chi?"
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the card Tyvar. Insidious Roots is still in standard for
Yeah.
6 months, and so that's really like the home I have in mind. If there's ever going to be like a weird big change in standard for the next 6 months, I think I can't just say that Roots is definitely going to be good, but this is like the best card ever it could get.
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking Roots might have some other problems now that it didn't before, but and also I was thinking like for as long as this card exists in older formats, there might be something pretty powerful you can do with it.
Yeah, I mean the other thing about this card, so what I wish I had prepared, but I didn't really have time to look up and check what activate abilities there are, is like if you can play this and activate something in the same turn, it's kind of free.
Yeah.
Getting 2 mana back for a 2-drop is awesome. I think it's just like powerful enough as a build around. I imagine the decks that want this, it'll be so powerful for them that you'll just happily play 4. Also, like Tyvar, in the Roots deck does do something cool and like it can bring back something from your graveyard. That was cool and all. This is a creature, which like the Roots deck is just like, exiling creatures from its graveyard for value. So incidentally, just like having more creatures in the deck is really important to it. It can maybe make room for more non-creatures somewhere else like cash grab or something like that, because it just really wants to play like 30 plus creatures, so fitting in those creatures matters a lot. And then yeah, I don't know, like you can play this and activate your Keen-Eyed Curator or Scavenging Ooze 2 times and get 2 roots with haste as an example, or plants with haste, and use those to keep playing things. That's just like a key part of why the Roots deck was ever good at all, was when the plants have haste, and then that hasn't been the case since last rotation. So now that'll kind of be revitalized. I just think that should be, like kind of a winning recipe. Dredger's Insight also couldn't find Tyvar previously, but it could find this. So it's a lot of good things.
Okay.
There's also some things I was thinking about, in more modern day aspects. If you have Badgermole Cub, like you can just tap your Shang-Chi without abilities to activate and it makes it green. And then like a real green that you can just spend.
Right.
And then
Right. Interesting.
if Badgermole Cub gives, like, I don't know, bossing, say, the ability to be a creature, then it's a creature with an activated ability, something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is neat. I didn't even think of that. That could definitely come up in the Roots deck. They can play those cards.
Yeah, or maybe you get everything out of it and it taps for 2 mana for your abilities and you get a green.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, Badgermole Cub makes double mana with Roots too, right? Like, it's just great.
Yep.
I imagine you're
Mhm.
definitely playing them all.
Yeah, this card's crazy, and I do think there's probably something because for us to look for that might be good, and maybe in standard, maybe in Pioneer. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the whole Roots thing, though, is just like, I don't know. With Badgermole Cup involved too now, and this card being a little cheaper and maybe more findable than Tyvar was. I mean, Overlord could find Tyvar and this, and obviously you're playing the Black Overlord in that deck. But my point is, like, the part where you give them haste has not existed with Badgermole Cup at the same time yet. And that sounds like a recipe to just, like, oh, it's turn 4, I'm going to mill my entire deck and combo kill you somehow.
Yeah. So do you would you say losing that aspect and Tyvar was pretty much the exact reason why Roots doesn't see play?
It
Anymore?
certainly just makes it like completely unfeasible to me. It might not actually be good enough, but like this is
Right.
exactly what it needs, and I'm excited to play it with Badgermole Cup because, like I said, that hasn't happened yet, and all the plants making an extra mana is obviously a huge deal.
Okay. All right. Man, check out that art on the comic book style on this guy.
Oh, I'll have to.
It's badass. It's got like a dragon and looks really cool. I like the comic book style arts for these. All right. So, number 1. Cool. I'm going to go on to, let's see. We got to have you go on to your number 5 then.
My number 5 is Avengers Disassembled.
Okay.
This is a 1 red sorcery. Choose one or both. Avengers Disassembled deals 3 damage to each creature. Destroy target land. Its controller may search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So this is this category of like 3 mana deal 3 sweeper. In standard, we already have Slagstorm. Slagstorm kind of doesn't do anything else. I mean, maybe you burn your opponent out every now and then with the 3 damage to each player. This has like some relevant bonus text that, you know, you could mess with like a value land or against, you know, like some decks just don't have very many good basics. So it's cool that like you could main deck this and versus the 4-color control deck, maybe just Stone Rain.
Yeah, I love this card. I put this as number 4. I've been playing a little bit with Slagstorm, and it's been good. And it's a sideboard card in you know the decks have been playing it, which is like Lessons. But I could totally see this moving it, being able to move it to the main deck in like a red controlling deck.
Yeah, I mean,
because you
imagine
have
playing with
this.
Tablet Control Mirror, and this isn't even dead. It's good.
Yeah,
like-
exactly. With being just having your sweeper in a dead matchup, he will do anything else is pretty nice.
And then I also want to point out just like, so there's been like these red, white decks, or sometimes red and other color decks popping up in Modern. I don't think they're great, but they're okay. And they're using the combination of like Cleansing Wildfire and Price of Freedom. So like the new thing going, and it's basically just like 8 of the same card, like destroy a land, they search for a basic, you draw a card. And those cards play really well in multiples. So I imagine, and I also just think that like a 3 mana deal 3 is actually kind of well positioned in Modern right now. So this seems like this will pair well with those. And if I already think that, you know, the 8 you start with is a good combination, this plays really well with it. And like the fact that it's choose one or both makes it like much more reasonable to be like, on turn 2, I'm going to Stone Rain you, you're going to get your basic. But then on turn 3, I'm going to sweep the board and Stone Rain you. And then maybe you still have a basic. But then like the next time I do this, you like definitely don't have a basic, you know?
Yeah, I love it. It sounds great in that deck. I could see that being easily 3 or 4 of. I know they already play sweepers.
Yeah. They're playing Wrath of the Skies and white cards, but maybe you could just play, you know, like a mono red deck, or maybe a different color is better to splash. Something with like more card advantage than white is kind of a big issue.
Yeah. And I know you already touched on it, but it's also just an advantage over Slagstorm because even in the matchups where Slagstorm is good, this being able to do both can be really effective. Your opponent might be playing a creature deck with Cavernous Souls or Bossing Say, all those sorts of things
Yep.
that you could destroy just as a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything super cool you could do with this, but you can target your own lands too. And
yeah, if you needed to like change your
or
forest to an island.
if your
or
opponent
something,
was playing a deck with a lot of basics, you could just say, I'll just thin my deck of a land. I don't want to draw a land. You know, it's minor. But,
oh, sure.
Or, you know, it's a card
so.
in your graveyard. Maybe that matters for something else later, like the Blue Emeritus.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I guess you could target yourself. That's interesting.
If you had basics, obviously.
Yeah, sure. If you hated yourself.
And I like, you know, the other thing about these new red cards they've been printing is that they don't just only target non-basic lands. So when you do draw a bunch of them in multiples, like you do start killing your opponent's basic lands. Like it's not like
yeah, that speaks to the power of like that red-white deck in Modern.
Yeah, whereas like in Modern, sometimes people play decks that like flicker White Orchid Phantom, but that only hits non-basic lands. So eventually your opponent is left with, you know, maybe they're just playing a 3-color deck and they have one of each of their basics, but they can still kind of operate at a basic level.
Yeah, and it's funny I don't know if I would board it in, but it's funny that in my Lesson Cyberplane I already have Price of Freedom, so
yeah, exactly.
That might open up.
That's kind of the point I was making in Modern, is that also Price of Freedom's in Standard, so you could play a deck with both of those.
Yeah,
that might be pretty good.
Or if your opponent just happens to show up with a deck with very, very few basics, you might just be like, well, crap, I'll board this in. Yeah. Sure, why not? Cool. Yeah, so great card. That was my number 4.
My number 5.
And your number 5. So we got to do my number 5. All right. I've got Captain Marvel,
cool.
Earth's Protector, 3 white, legendary creature, human Kree hero, flash, flying, lifelink, power up. This is a mechanic we haven't talked about. So this power up is 5 white, put a +1/+1 counter and an indestructible counter on Captain Marvel. And the way this works is it's basically an exhaust ability, but if you use it the turn the creature comes into play, it's discounted by the creature's mana cost.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a new mana cost almost for the creature.
Yeah. So if it's already in play and you want to do it on a later turn, you pay 7. But if you play it all on turn 7, you have 7 mana. You can just play it for 7, essentially. You play 5,
you have to put it on the stack
2.
or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah. Has to enter and you pay 2 more, basically. So this is a category of card where I was like, in my mind, I was kind of confident that would probably see some play. Mostly maybe as like a sideboard card. But it seems like, I don't know, it seems like it could really be a banger.
Yeah, I mean it's
in
a
light sideboards.
big flash Baneslayer Angel. I guess First Strike is kind of useful on Baneslayer Angel against a lot of things you might encounter, but then this
Yeah, it
also
is, but this can be indestructible.
exactly. Yeah, I can.
I really like that as flash.
Yeah.
Basically, like it's been pretty common for I guess mostly blue white decks, but certainly like slower white decks to board in these sort of Baneslayer Angels against decks. But having to tap out for it can be pretty bad when you also have like sweepers and stuff in your deck.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It seems like it should be a potent sideboard card. Like,
Yeah.
even in if you're, it's not a surprise. Your opponent is aware this is a commonly played sideboard card. It's just like they have to leave in something that answers it, but also there might be a stage in the game where like the thing they have that answers it doesn't work. And then
Mm-hmm.
even though like it could be bounced, but the bounce is like boomerang basics, which is not effective against like the flash nature of it. You still get a big life point swing and could just recast it on their end step. So,
Yeah. That's all true. Yeah, I really like all that. It's also the case that like when you have these big creatures in your sideboard and you play against a matchup where maybe it wouldn't be great, like maybe like a control mirror, and before you'd be kind of hesitant to sideboard in, maybe you would anyways, like sideboard in your Baneslayer just because you have too many dead cards. This is quite a bit better to have a flash threat than something to tap out for, even in a matchup like that. So I just think like a ton of white decks are probably going to play this in their sideboard.
Makes sense. Yeah, at least the like console white decks.
Yeah, and maybe even I don't know. You could be a white deck that's like a mid range or an aggressive deck that plays against an even more aggressive deck that you want to board this in against. It's my thought, like a green white deck. So yeah, it's funny because I see it as almost exclusively a cyber card.
It's
but
really warping. I agree.
Yeah, so that's what
Something
I got.
like a Hullbreaker Horror or something like that. Like it's a big deal. I think
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got for number 4?
I have Electra, Daughter of the Hand. This is 2 black for a 3/3 legendary creature, human ninja villain. It has Sneak, the mechanic from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it's 1 black. You may cast a spell for 1 black. If you also return an unblocked attacker you control 2 hands during the declare blocker step, she enters tapped and attacking. When Electra enters, destroy target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less. So, just kind of a Necrotal, Ravenous Chupacabra effect, kind of some cool sneak stuff. Can't hit big creatures, but I don't know. It just seems like it's kind of just going to be pretty good. Also, there's a Kaido deck. Seems like it could kind of fit in there, but maybe in other decks too.
Yeah, it's a ninja, like you said. So it
yeah, good with Kaido
maybe
to get pumped too. Maybe. I mean, power 3 or less is not a great category. This could also definitely just be a sideboard card, but when you are just like playing this and even killing a 2-drop, I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that's what kept it off my list. Felt like maybe that was kind of narrow, but I see the application. I do feel like the like Esper Kaito ninja deck that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of made possible was pretty good. Obviously not good enough, but I don't know. This can go into that. It's like a tier 2 or 3 deck at least. I just why couldn't it destroy anything?
Yeah,
we had Chupacabra. Would that really be so crazy? I don't know. I maybe was a little more disappointed with this just because I felt like they could have ungated it and it would have been fine. But
yeah, I mean, it doesn't have a home.
It could still have its
It's part of
uses.
the issue. Like, there's not really like a good black deck that would play this.
Yeah. Certainly, I would say it would definitely be good if it could destroy anything, but we'll see how it goes with how it is. Yeah. So yeah, my number 4 was Avengers Disassembled.
Yeah, after talking about Avengers Disassembled, I wish I had it higher. Honestly, I'll say I didn't realize it said choose one or both till I read it right then.
Really? Yeah. I mean, you put it number 5 is pretty good. Top half. I agree. It's really good. It's just so guaranteed to see play that maybe it should have been higher than some other stuff. But hey, number 3. What do you got for number 3?
I have We Say the Nay with an exclamation point. I like that. This is 1 in the blue for an instant. It's also an arcane, but this one I don't think will matter. It's an arcane at all. It has Teamwork 2. So that's a new mechanic. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may tap any number of creatures you control with total power 2 or more. It's kind of like Kicker, but involves, like crewing your spell, kind of. Counter target spell unless the controller pays 2. Counter that spell unless this controller pays 4 instead if the spell was cast using Teamwork. So just kind of like the common quench of the set, but I just remember Make Disappear being very, very strong in Standard and very warping, and going from 2 to 4 with some kind of, I think, achievable kicker in this case, and honestly, like less costly than Make Disappear. Disappear perhaps was, which was Casualty 1. Maybe even Casualty 2 now I think about it. But anyways, 4 is a lot harder to like play around. So the fact that like that can exist, and like it's nice because on like the earlier turns of the game, you're worried about your opponent's 5-drop or something, like you don't have to leave up untapped creatures, but then on like turn 7 where maybe they've tried to play around it, like you could just untap your creature, which then means maybe they just won't even have played around it in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, this card's great. I put it as number 2.
Cool. You obviously have to play a deck with creatures. It's not like a control card in my mind at all, but it's more like a mid-range blue card where you play your creatures and your counter magic. And, like Make Disappear was in the set right after Fable, so they're always kind of next to each other. And like that was like a big deal in the kind of Fable standard, was that like your opponent could pass with Make Disappear into your Fable. Like this card being popular and scaling, I think will make 3-mana sorceries worse.
Yeah. In my mind, this is similar in power to like No More Lies. It's much closer to that than like, the crappy quenches that the blue-black decks were playing. Yeah, it's a little boring, honestly, but I do think it's really good. The fact that it's only a single one in a blue means that you could kind of like splash it or play it in decks that aren't heavy blue.
I like the teamwork.
That could really like counters.
Have 2 1/1 tokens or something too, and it'd still work. Like,
yeah, the teamwork's like really easy to use. Like, what's your opponent gonna do? Like, kill your 2-power guy and end a turn maybe to try to, play around this? I don't know. It's gonna be pretty hard. And yeah, honestly, this is gonna be, in my mind, might be kind of an annoyingly good card. But
yeah, I feel like that's what Make Disappear was.
Yeah, and this is even easier to use than that, I would say, with the teamwork. So I don't even very much like this card, but yeah, I do think it's gonna be really good.
It's good against the decks you play and not good in the control.
It is
problem. It's a really good like anti-control counter spell.
It is, yeah, and it's good. People can play it in their main decks because it's good elsewhere too. So it's gonna see a lot.
Because like Quench is like kind of, it's good on turn 2.
It's close.
Yeah,
it is
just a good card to pass with on turn 2 typically. But then the problem is if they can like play around it, then it gets outscaled or it's a bad top deck. But like counter unless you pay 4 is just so much.
It is a lot. Yeah. So annoying card. Yeah, I put it at number 2. Okay. I'll go into my number 3 then. And I've got, I don't know how to say it, Monica Rambeau.
This is as me, someone reviewing the limited portion of the set.
I'm
very aware.
Oh
of
yeah.
This card.
Yeah, this card is going to be absurd and limited. Holy cow. All right. I almost just wrote down
the backside.
Monica Living Light. Yeah, because that's the crazy part. But I'm going to read it all.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2 and a white for a 3/3. Legendary creature, human hero. Has flying and prowess. And then it's one of those flip heroes where you can pay 2 red, white, white to transform it activate as a sorcery, or you could just cast it for 2 red, white, white. And on the other side, it is an elemental hero. It's flying, hexproof, prowess. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. Hexproof is very good.
Yeah.
And basically exactly what I want to do with this is use Momo and practice offense with it.
Yep. That sounds great. I like that, like it has 2 different names, so you could even play a lot of copies of it, maybe.
Yeah, I thought
like I feel like what won't happen is that you'll play the front half and then flip it that often, honestly.
But yeah, I feel like what'll happen is you'll play the back half and then you'll draw a second copy and be like, well, at least I can still play the front
or
half.
You'll just like have Momo on turn 1 and you'll be like, sure, I'll play one of my 3 copies of Monica in my deck on turn 2. Like it's 3/3.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty good.
I like that it's only a single red, so maybe you can do Jeskai Momo, you can still have your Rulers, or you could just do red white. We'll see.
The red splash is very similar to the blue splash in that like the verge goes the right way. It's white then red, so that's very nice for Momo.
Yeah.
I want to point out, it's not a card on my list, but like both Monica and this other card I'm going to point out were cards that I wrote down on my list because I think they're 2 of the best cards in the limited format without even playing yet. I could just tell you that, and because of that, I think they could see play in Constructed. And this other one is also a red, white 5-drop. So it's the Superhero Civil War. It's 3 red, white for a saga. Chapter 1, gain control of up to 2 target creatures with total mana value 6 or less for as long as this saga remains on the battlefield. So 1 big guy or 2 small guys. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance until end of turn for Chapter 2. And Chapter 3, target creature you control fights up to 1 other target creature. I mean, just Chapter 1 and 2 alone is like very lethal in a lot of games of Magic, especially limited.
Yeah, this one's gonna be so unbeatable. This one's only a rare too, at least
Yeah, I think
mono mythic.
the Civil War card is probably the best like rare in the set. I imagine the cards that are better than it I think are mythic, but like this will be the card people lose to the most and complain about the most in the whole set. I think.
Sheesh, yeah. All right, Jacob, explain to me what's going on. I thought we moved to Ward as the like annoying target,
Yeah,
can't target
I
thing,
don't know
we're
what's
just
up
getting
with just a
hexproof.
random flying hexproof creature that at least like you kind of need other creatures to be good, but not that much.
Yeah, at least it doesn't pump itself, I guess, when you do its
Not
thing.
permanently,
But
but it does have prowess. I mean, it can still hit very hard.
yeah, I mean, I like that in a go wide deck that you're gonna have some like daydreams or removal spells or
Springleaf
practice
drums
offense
too.
Springleaf Drum, even sure. Yeah, I think this.
Yeah, that
card's
deck has a lot of
scary.
non-creature spells, and yeah, definitely interesting because one of the cards people have been playing with practice offense in that deck that I had thought about before is Steam Core Scholar, which I think is awesome that they're pairing those cards together now. But yeah,
Okay,
maybe you can
sure.
still play Jeskai. The Springleaf Drum
Yeah.
helps too, and you already have Starting Town and Multiversal Passage in that deck.
Yeah, and I mean, just in hexproof with practice offense, like you're just like, oh, I'll target this guy, give it double strike. Target this guy, give it
Yeah,
lifelink.
that's
And
fair.
you're just like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Cool.
What do you got? Your number 3 was We Say
Yep.
the Nay. So we're on to number
My
2
number
for you.
2 is let me make sure I say the name right. I'm scrolling to it. It's Thor, God of Thunder. It's a 3 red
God of Thunder
for a 5/5 legendary creature, God Warrior Hero. Flying. When Thor enters, exile target equipment, instant, or sorcery card from your graveyard. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. You do still have to spend mana on it. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Thor deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to any target.
Dang, Thunder.
Yeah, so I mean,
I put this number 1.
Cool. Yeah, so I mean, this card, like, you play it, you're going to get value out of something in your graveyard. They kill it. That's not the happy mode for it, but you still like get a 2-for-1. That's pretty nice. When they don't kill it, I feel like you win. Like you can gun down their board or literally kill them because it's a 5/5 flying that'll burn them a bunch. It reminds me a lot of Shiko, but like higher upsides, but like maybe a lower floor, or maybe I don't know whether the right term is higher floor or lower floor, but like not as good as Shiko if you just play it and it dies, sure. But there's also like some cool controlling aspect to it where like this card works with counter spells. You on a later turn, you could like play it with counterspell up and then they can't kill it, and like specifically like Spell Snare even. You could like play this on turn 6 with Spell Snare in your graveyard or in your hand to protect it.
And target your stock up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think it's like also maybe just a sideboard card because something it's just really good at is gunning down creatures if you untap with it. And similarly, like your opponent just might not be prepared to answer this post board every time. And even if they are, like I said, like not always a disaster. Like I just love that it has a built-in kind of case to make it pretty much always good, at least always okay.
Yeah, for sure. The equipment part's funny because I feel like you're probably never going to do that.
That is referencing what Mjolnir does in this set.
It does because it like discards itself.
Yeah, which is a card that I didn't almost put it on my list, but I put it on like the list of cards that to narrow down.
It'll be really good and limited for sure.
Yeah, it also is a weirdly like I don't think it'll make it into the modern Cascade decks, but it does 2 like modes that work in the modern Cascade decks.
Funny. Yeah, as for Thor, I'm going to be honest, I'm not as confident that it's going to be as good as even a couple of these other cards on my list, but I couldn't help myself putting it in number 1. It's such a sweet card. It's obviously very powerful. The ceiling on it is just through the roof, and the floor is actually pretty high too,
Yeah, I had another funny thought for it is, I guess a card in the juke category is how I put it. Like, what if your Ruby Storm opponent just like slammed this on turn 3 or something off a couple rituals, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of card that could just win all by itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Just cast anything.
That's what I like about it. Yeah, exactly. Like that last line of text plus being on a 5/5 flying, I feel like can easily solo a game in a deck full of non-creature spells, but you also get the value on ETB.
Yeah, and in also comparing it to like Shiko, it's easier to cast, and you can just cast bigger stuff. So you can target a Jeskai Revelation in your deck or graveyard
too. And then also obviously on curve, targeting negate or something doesn't work, but on turn 7 you can pair this with negate or something. It kind of pairs nicely in the tablet deck in my mind. It's like a sideboard threat.
It's funny, I've been trying all these like 5-mana 5/5 big flying tap out guys because I've been trying. I tried the dragon,
And the
the
Emeritus.
Northwind Avatar, and the Emeritus. Yeah, the Emeritus is nice, right? Because it has Ward 2.
Yeah, the Emeritus is like a weirder, like the Emeritus is really hard from the answer, and Ancestral Recall is definitely gonna be like really good at winning you the game, but not maybe defensively, if that makes sense. Whereas like the fact that like this card can just like plague wind your opponent if you get to untap with it.
Right.
It's like you just it stabilizes you like by itself almost.
Yeah, it's like better against the types of decks that maybe wouldn't be able to remove a 5/5 flying, but could like go around it pretty easily.
Yeah, whereas like
it's just like
sure, like in a control mirror, this card doesn't seem as good as to me as like the Emeritus does.
No, but it's still not bad, and
Exactly.
it's also like a red card,
Yep.
so you could play it in other decks as your top end or whatever. So, yeah, I really like this card. I think they nailed it with Thor. He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
My other favorite character from Marvel is Scarlet Witch, and I actually thought the Scarlet Witch card was pretty lame, so I was a little disappointed in that, but I'm glad.
The discounter, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Hex Magic is Scarlet Witch, so you can pretend that's Scarlet Witch.
That one's pretty cool. Yeah. Alrighty. Well. Oh, and then your number one was Shang-Chi, so we're all wrapped up. Okay. Cool. Top 10. Thanks everybody for watching. Let us know in the comments or on Discord if we got some wrong or if we missed a card. And we'll talk to you next time. Okay, so you were mentioning Sealed literally because you told me about the Team Sealed tournaments you were going to. I messaged in my local Discord like, hey, what if we did a Team Sealed event?
Which is locally cool.
And yeah, and I talked to the LGS worker who organizes the Magic tournaments, and he was like, well, I don't think we're welcome to try, but Sealed usually isn't that popular, and I don't know if you'll get anyone. And I already have like 9 people easily.
Nice.
After messaging, and people probably gonna want to bring their friends and stuff. So I think it's gonna happen. So I'm stoked.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I've never played a Team Sealed tournament, but it sounds fun.
I've played 2 Grand Prix previously. I did not make day 2 of one of them, and the other one, I believe, was I call it a win sandwich. I think we started 0-2 and won 10 in a row, and then lost 2 win-ins for top 4, basically.
Win sandwich. Yeah. Wow, the loss sandwich.
Well, because the bread is the losses, so that means the wins were between the bread.
Okay, that's the good stuff. Yeah, all right, fair enough. However you think of it. So you already have a team for the first one, but you're going to have to what?
Yeah, I think I
kind of in Brussels.
Confirmed today that I have the pet care to find a team for Brussels. I'll be asking. Hopefully, I'll have one lined up. It's over a month away. So
sure. Man, Brussels is quite the place to travel to.
Yeah, I'm going to Amsterdam first, so that's why. For the Pro Tour.
No, but if you're just trying to pick up a team, but I guess some people might be doing the same thing where they're doing both.
Yeah, there hopefully will be some people doing both, but otherwise, I mean, I don't know. I know a handful of European players. Maybe I can team with some of them.
Okay, cool. Right on. The other thing that interesting that happened this week is I saw the Nintendo Direct. And I saw the Zelda Ocarina of Time trailer, and I showed it to Kelly. And she loves Zelda. And so I think I finally found an excuse to buy a Nintendo Switch 2.
Nice.
When that game comes out at the end of the year. Which is funny because the original reason I got a Nintendo Switch was to play Breath of the Wild, and me and Kelly played that together. Kelly does generally not like video games, but she likes to watch Zelda because it's very nostalgic for her. So it's one of the only games she'll play with me. So...
Well,
I'm looking forward to that.
I kind of I've been paying attention to Pokemon competitive stuff for Pokemon Champions, which I'd played a lot of, but now, been playing Modern and looking at Marvel. But a week from today, the 17th,
really busy right now.
It comes out on phone.
Nice.
And not only that, they said you can sync your Switch account to it, which means I don't have to recollect the Pokemon I'm playing with or anything.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited to
that makes sense. Wasn't there a Pokemon Home feature to that, or is that not onto that yet?
There is Pokemon Home, yeah. That's how you get the things, but I was worried that even though I think everything could have been transferred back to my Pokemon Home and then back to my phone account, I don't even have to do that.
That's
I just have the same account, the same rank too, stuff like that.